Resurrection is not just a fun story for Easter morning, it's the way God gets his work done. And the Holy Spirit is not just the hair standing up on the back of your neck during the bridge of your favorite worship song. The Holy Spirit is resurrection power tucked away in ordinary lives. The Holy Spirit allows us to live real lives in the real world by a resurrection imagination. Unhindered. That's the word for all of this. Now, we are a community of mostly sophisticated, cynical urbanites. We are really well-schooled in the ways of this world. If you moved to the city from somewhere else, that's almost certainly what got you here, is that you've been immersed in, baptized into the system of this world. A system of power and insider information and manipulation, or what are we calling that now? Networking, right? A system of efficiency and effectiveness and predictability, and where getting the credit matters profoundly. A system where setting a plan, executing it flawlessly, and then getting the desired result is the working equation. And so as people baptized into this world system, living in a city that champions this world system, we should be sobered by this simple observation that the people who perfected the world's methods are on the wrong side of the Jesus story at every turn. It's the Pharisees who don't recognize the Messiah because they thought he'd be more charismatic and domineering and outwardly powerful than this. It's Herod and all of his descendants who were desperate for an audience with Jesus and then laughed him off when he came into their presence because his version of royalty looked so different than theirs. And it's the Romans who defeated this guy through the cross, and he's calling it victory while we sharpen the spear? Come on. You see, if we've got more in common ideologically with that crowd than we do with Jesus, chances are we're missing this king and his kingdom, even if it's staring us right in the face. See, I've got a system, even a system with God, and it works for me. I've got a way of relating to him most of the time that produces the desired results for me. It's efficient and predictable and everything that I want it to be. But it can also prevent God from ever getting to the deeper work within me. And so I've been asking myself this question lately. What if the deeper work of God in my life feels like falling apart at first? Do I still want it then? Parker Palmer says this: the deeper our faith, the more doubt we must endure. The deeper our hope, the more prone we are to despair. The deeper our love, the more pain its loss will bring. These are a few of the paradoxes we must hold as human beings. If we refuse to hold them in the hope of living without doubt, without doubt, despair, and pain, we also find ourselves living without hope, faith, and love. See, family, we're sick, but it's a sophisticated sickness, the hardest kind to diagnose, and the last kind we want to be healed of. Everyone wants the abundant life of Jesus, everybody. The Pharisees, Herod, even the Romans, but the way there is through a holy imagination. The church has always wanted in on resurrection power, and the church has always struggled to loosen our grip on our more effective ways of getting God's thing done our way. See, the first step in the Christian life is belief. It is that we trust in a God who turned a cross into a victory. But every step after that, the harder and more essential steps on this journey of discipleship, mean that we willingly begin to participate in the way God claims that victory. This is what Romans 8 is talking about when it says, the Spirit himself testifies with our spirit that we are God's children. Now, if we are children, then heirs, heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ, if indeed we share in his sufferings, in order that we may share in his glory. You see, the great task of following Jesus and the final invitation that we arrive at the end of Luke's 2-volume documentary is an invitation to step into this upside-down story. Not only to embrace it as true, but to join in, to participate in it today, in these circumstances, with these people in this place. To participate not only in the victory Jesus won, but the way Jesus claimed and claims that victory. You see, in the invitation of Jesus, it's not to get the gospel understood. Jesus doesn't even invite us to get the gospel spread. He calls us to get it lived, to borrow a phrase from Eugene Peterson. To get this story lived in homes and workplaces and classrooms, in marriages and singleness and through divorce, with children and infertility and loss. To get it lived in promotion and in furlough, in upgrades and in just barely making ends meet, in health and in cancer, in peace and conflict and racial unrest and political toxicity and global pandemics and just one more stage of isolation. To get it lived through promising starts and disappointing plot twists. And to get it lived in tongues of fire and house arrest and everything in between. That's why I'm a pastor. It's not because I really love telling old stories in a modern context and getting them understood. It's because my deep longing is to be one among a people that get this story lived. And here's the only way. The only way that we see this stuff, not just on the dusty streets of the ancient Middle East, but here on the streets of Portland, it's by a holy imagination. We have to let the story Jesus lived inform our expectation for the stories we're living right now.